setting, don't trust your hearing. You made a monster, I'm your imposter. Go ahead and wander, but don't trust the water.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to round number 2 of the World Touring Car Series here on RaceSpotTV. It heads down under to Australia, to Sandown for this week's meeting. My name's Connery Maddock. I'm joined as ever by the wonderful Peter Mackay as we're set to go racing here at this fantastic circuit. Peter, we head to a new course, a new track here on iRacing. A track that a lot of these drivers will not have really any experience with in most cases. So this one should be pretty demanding on the drivers.
I think it will, yes, it certainly will be difficult for the drivers. I've seen a few comments in the digital paddock already talking about curbs and the problem of handling those and getting the car dialed in for those. So, after a pretty bruising affair at Brands Hatch last time out, should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be, and well, I'm glad you used the word bruising to describe our last outing at Brands Hatch. It was certainly that and more. Bumpers were banged, doors were rubbed, and there was probably a very healthy bill for the repairs on a lot of these cars at the end of that one. But here's a look at the calendar then. We are here in round number 2, though, Sandown. Hopefully, some of these drivers would have calmed down after the first round, but I guess we'll just have to hold on to that hope for now here.
Yes, we shall, yes. Here at Sandown for 3 20-minute races as always, and yeah, really interested to have a new circuit on the calendar. Donington Park next week will be a little bit more familiar. Then Watkins Glen, back into Australia for Phillip Island, Imola, Detroit, Silverstone, Road Atlanta, Mount Panorama, Gilles Villeneuve, Fuji Speedway. It really is an honour roll of fantastic racetracks.
Yeah, it really is. Certainly looking to looking forward to a handful of tracks a little bit later on in the calendar. I will be wondering very much to see how these cars and these drivers deal with Mount Panorama towards the very back end of the season. But we have this race in Australia first to get out of the way of before we even think about later on in the season. Sandown. Well, it's like I said, it's a track that not a lot of people will be familiar with unless you're a fan, of course, of Australian motor racing, and it has held a Formula 1 World Championship event before, a couple of decades ago.
Yes, quite a while ago, yes, indeed. It has a lot of history behind Sandown Raceway. In fact, would you believe, actually, that, Connery, of course, this is a multi-purpose venue. They took inspiration from Aintree. Aintree in the United Kingdom, which of course hosted a couple of rounds, a couple of British Grand Prix in the past, but it was a combined horse racing circuit and racing circuit. And same here at Sandown, but they also host concerts. You know, Simply Red were playing here last night.
Intriguing. It just reminds me of Donington Park in the UK. It also holds a very famous festival. But riding on board here with Quentin Guinness as he heads his way towards the start-finish line to complete yet another lap here. In fact, he's slowing that one down. He's already passed the timing beam. He does go provisional pole position here in this one. And well, for Quentin Guinness, it was a relatively great time out at Brands Hatch last time. He's got the race win in the first event, and then he picked up 2 podiums in race 2 and in race 3. So he's pretty comfortable at the top of the order coming into this one. But then again, Peter, we've only had 1 race meeting under our belts. Things can very much change, and they can change very quickly as well.
They can, absolutely so. I mean, here in the World Touring Car Series, nothing is a promise, nothing is guaranteed. And we saw that last season. You know, Corentin Guinez really had the control of the championship throughout the season, alongside his core sim racing colleagues as a TV race for at the time. But all of a sudden in the last 3 rounds, it just started to turn around and in the favour of Ross McFarlane. So it is a long old season, and yeah, you've got to be careful not to get too carried away. Great to see Kieran Harrison returning. We didn't have him last week, and I thought, oh no, we're not going to have Kieran racing with us this season. But it's great to see him back and in the team again with Corentin Guinez once more. Watch out for that number 93 car. Kieran Harrison is super fast.
Yeah, can be, and well, a lot of drivers out there will be a little bit worried about the prospect of having to race up against that number 93, but we'll see how Harrison fares, at least in the back end of this qualifying session. 4th for the starting grid for race number 1, not too shabby at all. In terms of the points, though, a big surprise, at least to us, and I'm sure, oh, there we go, Harrison's going to send it into a drift, able to gather it up. But back to the point situation, 3rd in points, Stefan Schlacker, believe it or not.
Yeah, third in the AM class points is fantastic for Steph. I think he's even surprised himself. He says, "Oh, I might just have to practice a bit more now. I'm even further invested in the championship." No, he had a great start to the season on pace with his AM class colleagues. He's within 1/10 of a second of the ultimate pace, 3rd quickest in class. Very good. And for those who joined us last week, you'll be pleased to know we will be bringing back our favourite feature, #Ask Steph. So if you have something to ask Steph, let us know in the chat. It's interactive, mainly because I'm going to run out of things to ask Steph. So we need your help to ask what we shall ask our Austrian friends.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. I do have to correct the record. Stefan Schlacker 3rd overall in points. He's 2nd in the AM class. Yeah.
Goodness.
Very, very impressive run indeed. But Loic Arabia, as he heads his way across the line now, is going to be his last attempt at a qualifying effort. Just 1/10 of a second slower than his best effort. Maybe the track just a little bit past its best at this point. And Sean Gardner, well, that lap is past its best as well, as he tries to push a little bit too much through the final corner. Has to bring that car to a stop and take the tow back to pit lane. Looks like pretty much everyone is done as far as qualifying is concerned here, so we do have to wait for the timer to run down by about 30 seconds before we get ourselves the gridding procedure underway here at Sandown. But our starting grid indeed has been set for race number 1. Corentin Guinez starting pole position with Ross McFarlane on that first row as well. Wojciech Savidovic in P3 with Kieran Harrison starting 4th, with James Holman starting 5th, with Jake Blackhall home race for the 97 starting 6th. We've got 7th with Jamie Rushworth. We've got Loic Arabia, in P8 with Alex Torres in P9. Miguel Freitas will start in 10th with Daniel Martin and Morgan Butler rounding out P11 and 12 respectively. Anders Ankerson will line up in P13 with Stephen Daly in P14. We've got Pete Newman in P15 with Stefan Schlacker starting 16th here today. Marcel Schwitz 17th. Harry Fox rounds out the 18 cars. We've got 19th Lena B with 20th going to Adam Tompkins. 21st spot on the starting grid will go to Luke Hitsley with Mark Johnson starting in 22nd. Starting 23rd is Shane Piggott with Benjamin Gregory starting P24. Further down the grid you got Sean Gardner, Carl Johnson, Rob Sutherland, Neil Stephenson, Nick Clibbens and Michael Blake running out the top 30 cars. And we got yet more cars, by the way. We've got Paul Swift and John Roberts, P31, 32. But we have a whole bunch of non-qualifiers here. 42 cars will take to the starting grid here, Peter. Wow.
So we have 11 non-qualifiers. That's quite remarkable, actually. And well, we did say it was a bruising encounter last week at Brands Hatch, and it's good to see the stewards taking a relatively hard line with some of the what's the word? Issues last week, should we say? Indiscretions.
Yeah, and hopefully the drivers will have gotten the message with regards to those penalty points and those and being shuffled towards the back end of the grid for this one. But we will just have to wait and see. Race meeting number 2 here at Sandown, maximum 30 seconds away from the green lights, and our charge down in towards turn number 1. It's a long charge as well down into that first turn, so getting a good start here could pay it dividends once you get yourself the angle into that first turn. But we're just about ready to go now. It's Quentin Guinez on pole position with Ross McFarlane on the front row as well. Savinovic starting from 3rd place. Race number 4 of the season is about to get itself underway here at Sandown. We do get the green light, and we're away here in Australia. Quentin Guinez absolutely level with Ross McFarlane on the way down in towards turn number 1. Kieran Harrison looking for a way in behind as well. Oh, it's been a bit of a tangle for those final podium positions. Savinovic and Harrison getting all sorts of out of shape as they're still side by side for the race lead. Coming through the first sector here, Quentin Guinez and Ross McFarlane. Ross McFarlane has been able to dive his way down the inside there and gain that position. But look at who's coming back. Guinez has got the run as we see more cars off in the background.
That was a pretty aggressive move by Ross McFarlane standards, it must be said, and they're side by side heading down the very long back straight down towards turn 6, Cooper's corner, then straight into turn 7 and 8. The S's right over the curbs there as well. Guinez is going to try and tough it out. You've got to be careful, try not to get the slow down penalty by cutting over the corner. Over the curbs they go. And then up, down, another sort of straight run towards Dunlop corner, 11 and 12. And Guinez has got it back.
Blam onto the anchors of P6 what's an extended bus stop chicane as we look further back through the field. And we got a little bit of 3 wide there. We've almost even got 4 wide coming into the last section of the lap. Yes, still 3 wide. Lots of carnage happening, as you say there, Peter. Everyone able to get themselves through on that situation we watched on the live cameras, but it seems like we have had a good couple of casualties already.
Yeah, it seems so. Guinez leads then from Ross McFarlane with Kieran Harrison right in his wheel tracks there. The Asher Racing cars going for the Hyundai Veloster. Ross McFarlane switching to the Honda Civic Type R from the Elantra last season as well. The series organisers have introduced a balance of performance system to try and make sure that every car could be competitive, and so far looks to be. We've got all 3 cars up in the top 4.
It was Arabia behind that was weaving all the way down the straight there, just trying to put Kieran Harrison potentially off his game a little bit, but single file they will file themselves through. There's some portions of this racetrack, one of which we've just gone through, where the track is very, very narrow. So not a lot of space to get a couple of touring cars side by side, but as they head their way down in towards the final couple of corners, it does seem like Quentin Guinez is able to maintain the race lead for now, but these long straights, it means a lot of drafting opportunity here.
Yeah, there is a lot of drafting opportunity. The only thing is these TCR machines don't seem to give up such a powerful draft compared to some other cars we see on the iRacing platform. The Mazda MX-5 is one that springs to mind. This would be pretty crazy with those cars. With the touring cars, it's a little bit more level, it seems. So yeah, the passing opportunities will have to be set up well in advance. Stephen Daly, the real-world BMW Compact Cup racer, he leads the AM Class 10th overall at the moment, just 5.3 seconds off our leader. You'll notice the horse racing track there on the right-hand side. They've actually been racing horses here since 1888. Wow, that's certainly before my time, Peter. Just on mine as well. And also hosted they hosted Australia's first ever motor race, 1904, when motor racing was very much in its infancy. As Neil Ferrier, oh dear, that's a repeat of last week. I was just about to say a man who was in the bad books for contact with other drivers, and he's going to remain in the bad books.
Yeah, that one's a little bit inexcusable, excuse me, from Ferrier. He is able to rejoin up onto the circuit, albeit with a rather large amount of front-end damage, but not as much damage as the car he punted, I would have thought. But 16 minutes left remaining here in this one. Here's Morgan Butler, P10 in the Pro class for the moment. He's stuck up behind the AM leader at the moment of Daly. This is going to be a little issue for Butler to try and negotiate. Of course, you know, it's not a pass for his own championship, so to speak, but he also doesn't necessarily want to be disrupting an AM leader too much.
I think it's every man for himself in this championship. It certainly seems so. As Ross McFarlane making a move now as they head down towards turn 6, Cooper's corner, and you really, just converges back there, and McFarlane has to back out of it to allow Guinness to reclaim the line. So it was a try, it was an attempt there from our defending champion, but Guinness just managed to rebuff it at the very last moment. Meanwhile, Kieran Harrison studying everything going on. Now, who's that off? Number 127 in the Hyundai Veloster.
Shane Piggott.
Out. Oh dear.
From the Ace of Spades team. Let's see exactly what happened. I'm not sure if it was involving another car or if it was just a solo spin, but we will just potentially have to take another look at it. In fact, we do. So let's see what happens here to Shane Piggott. Oh, big slide out of the back end. Almost able to gather it up. Big overcorrection and tags the car being sent into the barriers there. It was a good effort for Piggott to try and save that one, but unfortunately for him, it didn't come off.
Very, very nearly caught it. Yes, indeed. He just seemed to clip the grass on the way into the corner, and yeah, that got the car out of control, and the rest was history. Ross McFarlane actually, I think, maybe even just slightly bump drafting into the back of Guinness there, trying to maximise that speed along the straight, but Rabia in the number 4 car, the Elantra there, he's just stalking and watching all this going on along with Kieran Harrison as well. So maybe a slight breakaway, a little bit of division now, back to Wojciech Savirovic in 5th with Jake Blackhall there too in the 97 cars. They go side by side, making that gap even further, even wider between the leading group and the second group.
Yeah, Savirovic and Blackhall side by side down the pit straight here at Sandown. Jamie Rushworth is waiting in the wings there. So is Miguel Freitas as well. Freitas towards the outside. Car coming off the pit lane. Makes it 3 wide for a very brief moment. 2 by 2 they go in towards turn number 1. Savirovic doing very well and giving the space to Jake Blackhall. Allows him to come back down the inside for the mini chicane here of turn 2 and 3. And that is Blackhall able to get himself through. And Rushworth trying to fight it out with Freitas. Rushworth hits the wall actually and loses a ton of speed coming down the back straights, giving up the position to Freitas. He might give up the position to James Holman as well.
Very easy to get kind of boxed in and get pancaked into the wall, as Ross McFarlane definitely using the bump draft there as well, but Guinness not being flustered, although you can really take a lot of that curve. I tell you what, if you can get away with that. Guinness, who's that off in the background? It's Ribier.
It is. Big moment for the Team PGZ car, as let's see if the rejoin's fine. You know how much of a fan of rejoins I am. There we go. Should be able to get back on the circuit, as let's see what happens. Did he just get unsettled up over the curb, or was it the change of direction that sent that car out into the gravel?
I think it's a combination of the two, Connery, I think, from what I could see there. So, what a pity for Ribier, because he really was pushing on and in that leading group and looked comfortable, but he rejoins and gets back going again. But you never know, I think with the attrition rates we're likely to see in these races, if you could just keep going, keep the car relatively straight, get it to the flag, you never know what points you can gather up. So, Ross McFarlane trying everything to get a move done on Guinness, but not quite able to do it yet. You almost wonder, Connery, is he almost doing some dress rehearsals for later on in the race?
I mean, that's certainly a valid strategy, especially if you have the gap behind you and you're not immediately under any sort of pressure. You can just sort of sit there and try and formulate a plan in your head about how to attack this in the final couple of laps, potentially. Yeah, for McFarlane, he's the number 1 task right now is continue to apply as much pressure as possible onto the back of that 888 car of Quentin Guinness. That's his primary task at the moment. If that causes a gap, and causes no pain, well, McFarlane's going to dive in there all day long. But let's see what happens here coming down the pit straight. See how much of a run he does get in here in these TCR cars with the draft. Forces Quentin Guinness to go slightly defensive. Well, I say slightly defensive. He's basically swung across almost the entire circuit on the way in towards turn number 1. And, well, as a result, overcooks turn 1 a little bit out onto the exit curb. McFarlane has the better line into 2 and 3. Let's see if he's able to set something up for 4. Seems like the pressure is getting to Guinness at the moment.
It does, and interestingly, I'm sure we'll get a replay of it, but it seems that Kieran Harrison's really dropped off the pace of these two cars in front, Guinness and McFarlane. I do wonder if Harrison might have been caught up in that incident with Rabier, because he was right on their tail, and now he's, 1.7 seconds behind the leading pair. So something definitely happened there to Kieran Harrison.
And currently, Ross McFarlane showing no intention of getting past down the back straight, who basically was just...
Oh, it was Harrison that spun!
Big moment. Yeah, big slide and well held.
It was, but then Rabier went by, so there must have been another incident where which is when Rabier went off. So, goodness me, you really don't see Kieran Harrison making a kind of unforced error like that. Very, very rare indeed. As Nick Clibbins takes a little trip through the sandpit. The Sandown sandpit.
That seems to be a common place to go off, actually, down at turn number 9, at the very start of the final sector. And it makes sense why you would go off there, because, well, it's at the end of a very long straight into a very fast chicane, and, the car pretty much unsettled coming through there, especially when you're trying to go side by side with someone. It doesn't really help. And as these TCR cars are front wheel drive, if you go off throttle, then that back end is going to be super, super light, and it's going to come around on you like that.
It's the tail of these cars is like a really excitable spaniel. Really, it's, and it needs to be very well trained to keep on top, because they are a handful. They require such a specific technique, and at the front of this field, you really are looking at two of the very best drivers in the whole world of sim racing in these type of touring car machines. Guinness and McFarlane, they gave us such a great showdown last season, and no doubt they're going to be the same this season as Libera just trying to defend from one of the Pure Sims cars there, but couldn't quite. That was Tobkin. And who was that in the Pure Sims car? Who, snipped the nose off slightly.
Let's have a look.
Steen Ledger.
Yeah.
Aha. So Ledger, he came. I mean, there wasn't contact, but I'm sure that gave Gregory a little bit of a hard start.
This is a little bit further down the field. This is sort of P25, 26 overall and back situation. Steen Ledger heading his way down towards the inside on Michael Blake towards the end of the pit straight, and Blake very early on the brakes, half let him go and then carried a lot of speed through the middle of turn number 1, almost pushing out into the grass. So that's an interesting situation there, but all got resolved in relatively short order. On board with Rob Sutherland then. He's in the 108 car, P29 overall at the moment. He has this all going on ahead of him.
He does, does Rob Sutherland. 7 and a bit minutes to go. So he'll be hoping to pick a few places up over the next few laps. There's Paul Smith in the Team Mad Hyundai Veloster out in front. So now head into these S's. You get a great impression of the speed there as well over the cars, then try desperately get the car slowed down and tucked in to the apex. And these cars are so lively under braking. When you're leaning the car forward, the rear gets light, and here we go for the lead then. Guinness running right over the top of the curb. McFarlane really applying the pressure now. And this, of course, is allowing Kieran Harrison to recover and get right back in the leading battle.
It really is, and well, it would be a welcome appearance from Kieran Harrison as far as Quentin Guinness is concerned, because then he can harass the back of McFarlane and take the pressure off of that Triple Eight just that little bit more. But here comes Ross McFarlane then closing up this time. He goes driver's left-hand side, so the bump drafting is over here at Sandown. They're wanting to try and get past McFarlane down towards the inside for the first apex of this SS section, but that switches back, and now you can see potentially Kieran Harrison has a run around the outside. There's a bit of contact between the two, a bit of argy-bargy on the curb, and well, they all get away with it, and Guinness actually extends his gap slightly for the lead.
it's curious how there's certain stages where into the entry of the S's, McFarlane has the edge, but then through the middle and the entry and the midpoint, the corner, it seems that Guinness definitely has the edge, as did Harrison. So quite interesting the way that one played out. What happened to Ben Gregory then? Oh, he's turfed into the wall.
Yeah, he just got punted. A lot of damage to the left, to the driver's right-hand side of that car, and I think he has taken the tow back to the pit line. Yes, he has. So that's going to be race over for Benjamin Gregory, and well, he certainly isn't the only one, let me tell you that. We've got a good handful of drivers that have had problems over the course of this event. Shane Higgett's 1 lap down, we've got Carl Johnson a lap down, Scott Malcolm, Sean Gardner 1 lap down, and Jonathan Walker also actually fully retired from this race, 10 laps down. Hopefully we get no more in these final 5.5 minutes here as we're watching the race leader head their way into the first part of that final sector. That battle spread this one out a little bit, but I think this is going to close up in very, very short order, at least if history is anything to go by. And actually, Jake Blackwell and potentially Savidovic might be able to tag on to the back of this train if they fight a little bit more.
Yeah, that's curious, isn't it? So, yeah, Blackwell's done a super job to close down onto this leading trio as well. Looking at the fastest laps, Guinness on a 1:14.350, 1:14.294 for McFarlane. His best lap just set on that last lap there, so he's getting quicker. 1:14.190 for Harrison and a 1:14.273 for Blackwell. So Harrison really pushing as well, trying to get onto this lead battle. This is going to come down to a grandstand finish, I think.
You think, and I hope. That's the situation that we have.
They know.
Yeah, well, they're the only ones that can control this. We just have to call the action. But here we go, down the back straight once again. McFarlane closer than he has been than he was last time, but this time he is going to give the bumper treatment down towards the bottom end of the straight, just to push currently Guinness along into this final sector, and you can see how close he drags it up on the brakes. This is, well, it gets a bit concerning as a race leader when you see P2 just trying to ride your butt a little bit through these corners. Look at that.
Whoa, yeah, getting very cosy indeed there as well. Not the best of exit for McFarlane, and Harrison sees it, goes to the outside to get a run, puts himself between McFarlane and the wall. You can trust that McFarlane's not going to squeeze him into the wall there. As they head down towards turn 1 once again, Guinness has got just a tiny slither of advantage, but is Harrison going to try and tough this out around the outside? That would be a big ask. He is, you know. He's going to try. He's going to try and get on the case. Oh, they bang wheels, and Harrison, I think, might just have this, but then they flick back the other way. McFarlane just hangs on to it, but Guinness is looking in the mirror saying, merci.
You saw the team, the teamwork between Guinness and Harrison coming down that pit straight. Guinness basically just sat right in front of where Harrison was, giving him as much of the slipstream as possible to help him out in his battle with Ross McFarlane. That's what made it a little bit closer than it otherwise would have been into the first sector, but McFarlane's able to hold on. It has given Guinness a lot of breathing room in the dying minutes of this race, and well, it's at the margin now that it would be a very big struggle actually for McFarlane to do anything about. Now his sights maybe have to be set more behind than in front.
Quite possibly, yeah. That one challenge there from Harrison has given enough of a gap for Guinness, I think, to feel pretty comfortable. 1.2 seconds it takes a lot of lap time to get that back again, and Harrison's going to have another go as they come down towards turn 1, and it's going to be a last of the late breakers. Don't write off Jake Blackwell. He could really profit from all this, and he might just already, as he gets a great run now, and he's now right behind his teammate McFarlane. So Harrison's got to have his eyes in two different places. Oh, Blackwell just backs out of it there as they come into this crucial corner. Pertec, turn 4, and on the long run down the straight, endless gallop down the straight. Horse pun definitely intended.
I get the feeling there'll be a few more by the time. Kieran Harrison then, another attempt down the back straight, this time driver's right hand side. Let's see how this one works out into turn number 6 and 7 and 8, this fast sequence of corners. Oh, they get so close, and Harrison's out of shape. He's forced to overcommit to the final corner, and that allows not only Jake Blackwell through, but it allows Savidovic to get up to fourth place as well. that was a big opportunity potentially for Harrison, but it comes at such a huge risk, and he's found that out.
Yeah, it was risk and reward, wasn't it? If it came off, it would have been hero stuff, and it could have been second place. But Harrison, just got shown the hard shoulder there. McFarlane held his line firm and said, "No way, pal. You're going to have to try a different way around." So, and this also means then that defending champion Ross McFarlane has a little bit of rear cover as well in the form of his teammate Jake Blackhall there and the sister Pure Sims Honda. But at the front, it's looking like it's going to be another win for Thornton Guinness and Connery, a nice lead at this stage of the championship.
Well, he won the first race at Brands Hatch, and Guinness is on course to win the first race here at Sandown as well. Consistent finishes, consistent top placings is what you need to win a championship. Someone's had a problem. Leonard Beat has had a problem with the RSR by Butt Kicker car. Going more like rallycross racing across the grass there than touring car racing, but able to come back onto circuit and make sure that the way is clear. But yeah, you can't be having those issues at the very back end of these races. Now, what's the situation here coming towards the start-finish line? We have 10 seconds left on the clock. Do we go one more, or do we end here? That is the question. Well, Quentin Guinness heading his way across the line. It was about 3 seconds to spare, so we do get the extra lap. And Guinness, well, another time around, and potentially another opportunity for some drivers to gain positions that they thought they may not get.
Yeah, I think in terms of gap, if Thornton Guinness can just string a clean lap together, he's got enough of a gap back to Ross McFarlane. 1.9 seconds in the context of this battle is huge, because there's thousands of a second separating them on each lap. That's how close they are on pace. Been a great drive from Guinness, it must be said. He's been put under so much pressure all the way through by Ross McFarlane, but he has not flinched, he's not faltered. It's been a truly fantastic drive here to start off the night. 2 more races coming where you'll have to start deeper in the pack with the reverse grid, but as a kickoff, what a drive.
It's certainly not been a problem for him at Brands Hatch. It may not be a problem for him here at Sandown as well. Gap is at 1.8 seconds exiting the final corner. There was a parcel position, Freitas and Rushworth. Freitas able to get up into 7th place, but he's bottled it on the exit curb, and Rushworth is able to retake the position there as we look towards our race leader. And now we can say officially, race winner Quentin Guinness takes race 1 win here at Sandown for our second race meeting of the World Touring Car Series. Ross McFarlane second, Jake Blackhall in 3rd place at his home event. In the AM class, Daniel Martin from RD Sim Sports takes the race win there.
Good stuff there from Daniel Martin to get that AM win and top 10 overall. Very difficult to do that. Stefan Schlacker over the line in his Butler Pal Honda. Do you think he ran out of fuel there? Oh, Steph. Well, that's Ask Steph. We know what to ask Steph now.
Ask Steph what sort of fuel did he put it in. Yeah, rest of the runners heading their way through and across the line now. And well, having a look further back through the order, it was a little bit of a drag race between those two there, not entirely sure. But yeah, there were a lot of cars that took the start here, and a lot of them got into issues early on, so they got strung out down through the field. But seems like most of everyone has now been able to make their way across the line, which does mean we can spin the spinny wheel and see who starts on pole position for race number 2. 13 unlucky for some. Well, luckily we avoid it. P20 is the pole position for race number 2, and that is Preben Wall. He'll start on pole position for the next race. Here's the results from race number 1, though. Quentin Guinness from Ross McFarlane, then Jake Blackhall. Wojciech Savidovic in 4th place with Kieran Harrison 5th. James Holman in 6th. Jamie Rushworth in 7th with Miguel Freitas in 8th. Morgan Butler in 9th. And Daniel Martin as your AM class winner rounds out the top 10 overall. Pete Newman in P11 overall. Stephen Daly and Mark Johnson P2 and 3 in AM, respectively. Good results for them. Loic Arabia, Adam Tompkins, and Anders Ankerson round out the top 16 overall. Stefan Schlacker, he misses out on a P3 in AM this time around, so can't carry on the streak. as he's P17 overall, 4th in AM, as Luke Kidsley in P18 overall. Steen Ledger and Previn Noel will round out the top 20. Well, and that is the effective range of the reverse grid. Everyone else basically starts where they finished. Marcel Fritsch and Lena B, P21-22. Craig Williams, P23. Lee Berridge, P24. Michael Blake and Paul Smith, P25-26, respectively. Stolzenberg, Sam Smith, Roberts and Sutherland round out the top 30. And then further down the order, Stevenson, Torres, Fox, Clibbons, Ferrier, Dan Blackwell, Gregory, Johnson, Gardner, Malcolm. A lot of these cars having issues in the early part of the race. And then we have our retirement, Shane Piggott and Jonathan Walker. So, race number 1 is under our belts here, Peter. Again, a little bit of a scrappy affair at the start, but it didn't seem to continue on too much throughout the race. I think potentially the drivers have got the message, at least a little bit, with regards to the not leaning on each other too much.
Yeah, I think it settled down a little bit as we went through the race. I mean, it is a really narrow circuit. You touched on it a few times in the broadcast, how particularly when you're going around turn 2, 3, 4, that's a real bottleneck point. It's a good chance to go for an overtake into turn 2 and 3, but of course then you're really bunching up as you go into turn 4 at Pertec, and then of course you've got the really fast S's through Coopers, Coatshire and Hainault. Very, very tricky through there as well. So we can't underestimate the challenge the drivers are under tonight. Reverse grid though, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be very tricky.
Well, let's have our post-race chat with Stefan Schlacker then. If he'll be able to get himself ready, potentially unmute his microphone, and we can have a few words with Stefan. Stefan, well, it's P4 at AM this time around, so you have broken your P3 streak, but how was it out there at Sandown?
Well, I did, before that, I did add a 3rd place being 3rd in qualifying, so it still checks out a little bit. It was quite an interesting race. It was super calm, I have to say that at the start, so I wasn't 100% expecting that. I did get rear end damage though. Going into turn 2, that pretty much was expected. And yeah, losing 4th place on the last braking zone basically because of an own mistake is a little bit annoying on the last lap, but hey, what you gonna do? This Butler Paul Motorsport car was still very, very, very awesome to drive as always.
Yeah, well, another a P4 for you, another good points result for you in the AM Championship. Of course, this is a new track on our racing. How have you been finding it? Do you like the flow of the circuit?
I personally love how old school Australian racetracks are. Apart from Phillip Island, I love them all, and I would love to have every single one. And even the Kiwi tracks, for that matter, I would love to have all of them on the service, and I would probably race them 24/7 alongside the Nordschleife.
And Peter, you are standing by with our Ask Stefan question, if you have them all lined up for this one. So, Peter, take it away.
Well, Ask Steph for this one, Steph, is that, so you've actually probably answered our Ask Steph there. So was it just the mistake on the brakes into the final corner is what killed the run down to the checkered flag, or did you run out of fuel?
No. So what was going on to the 2nd straight out of turn, what is that, 4? Or rather going into, I touched the grass there and lost all the momentum. Then Mark caught up to me. And we went into that fast left-hander side by side, and that chicane that follows up. You normally on the racing line, it's a straight shoot over that quite treacherous curve, because if you're not perfect straight, it would most definitely kill you. So what I didn't realize is that road makes quite a kink to the right on the outside. I wasn't prepared for that, went in way too fast, jumped over the inside curb, that tall little curb that is on the left hand, and so that's why I lost that 3rd place in the end on the last lap, basically.
I see. And final part of our Steph for this race, Stefan, is on a scale of 1 to 10, how wrong are you about Phillip Island?
0, because it is great for MotoGP. It just doesn't work for anything that is TCR.
Fair enough. Good luck for race 2, Steph.
Thank you.
It's always an absolute joy to talk to Stefan Schlacker, but we're just about to head into our second race. The server is indeed up and the driver's connecting now. I did want to bring up a point here, Peter, because we saw Jake Blackwell have a pretty good race here in race number 1. He ended up third step of the podium. I just wanted to ask, how much does sort of a home quote-unquote track actually affect things here, not only in this series but in sim racing in general? I know we've brought it up on endurance racing commentaries before, but I wonder if your impression has changed somewhat since then.
I would totally agree to the view that it definitely helps if you have any real-world experience of a track, whether that be on a track day or you watch a lot of onboards even, or it's just a track that you've watched racing on for years. That will always help over not seeing it at all. So yeah, I would say if you've got if it's a track that you can watch at a lot, or you go around a lot. I found that with Knock Hill when it came on to the iRacing service. I was able to get results I had no hope of doing on other circuits, and I think I've only won a handful of times on iRacing, and a couple of them have been Knock Hills. So that would be the evidence on my side that yes, it definitely does help if you've had real world experience of the track.
Well, I'm trying to think about what my home track would be at this moment, because it used to be Donington Park, but now it's probably Silverstone's going to be my closest, at least in terms of major circuit. I know there's Castle Combe relatively close to me, but yeah, in terms of big boy circuits, then potentially Silverstone. But we are.
You need bigger. You need You need bigger guts for Castle Combe than you do for Silverstone. Because if it goes wrong at Castle Combe, you're in trouble.
That is true. I've been thinking of taking the car for a little bit of a spin round there. Not a literal spin, metaphorically speaking. Although I think the literal version might happen.
Is the focus up to it? Do you think?
Well, I think if we get a sort of questionable result on an MOT, then potentially we might take it down there just to give it a good send off. To be honest.
Excellent, I love it.
Yeah, drive it until it breaks. There we go. But we're about, let's see, 5 minutes away from getting our starting grid here for race number 2 of the second race meeting of the World Touring Car Series. Quentin Guinness, well, he was able to take the race win in race number 1, and, well, that is his second race win of the season. And he hasn't finished off the podium so far, has Guinness. So that's a streak that we'll keep track of in this one. But we do have a reverse grid of all the way down to P20 for this one. So that will certainly be a huge task for Guinness to try and get through on. But would you say it would be easier here at Sandown compared to Brands, or the other way around?
They're both pretty tricky, I would say. I think we actually potentially stand more of a chance of getting a total track blockage. Hate to be a doom merchant, but that bit, I mean, speaking to Paul Smith during the week, he said from turn 3 to 4 is so narrow that we could potentially see a little bit of a clog up there, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the one thing we've seen so far is, Quentin Guinness is really, I would say, it made a step from, I mean, already at an incredibly high level. He's made a step from season 1 to season 2 to this season in terms of, I mean, his pace is always excellent, but his the way he can get the racecraft going, the way he can get through the field and get those results in the reverse grid racing, that is what's probably most ominous to his rivals at this stage, I would say.
Well, there we go. We got our little bit of a warm-up going here for race number 2. And, well, let's see what happens here in this situation, because it's, this entire championship is basically going to be determined by these reverse grids in a way. How quickly can those front runners work their way through the fields? They work their way through actually quite effectively at Brands Hatch. For example, we've got Guinness being able to get himself on the podium in every single race in that instance. But sometimes you're at the whims of the spinny wheel, and you're hoping that it's not a big number either.
Yeah, it's amazing how this spinny wheel can really give and take in some ways. I'm sure we'll have the chaotic all the way to full reverse at some point in the season. The spinny wheel, I'm sure, has got somewhere up the sleeve there, but yeah, we shall see. But I have to say, this is a great addition to the to the iRacing service here, and the software engineers at iRacing have done a super job of mapping out this circuit in such amazing detail. I did also notice there, Conroy, just around the back of turn 3, they've scanned the Mercedes Sprinter perfectly. Is that a little hint to the future? We're going to have a Mercedes Sprinter laser scanned. It looks long wheelbase as well. Full Amazon spec.
Yeah, I mean, iRacing have been known to drop in a couple of little Easter eggs like that, but I think even the Mercedes Sprinter might be a little bit too far, just like the, what was it, the Lamborghini tractor, the Porsche tractor? I can't remember what tractor they had, but it was a tractor that they teased as an April Fool's Day at one point, so...
Could be either. Yeah, it could be either, because both have made tractors.
Yeah, it is true, but that's a new discipline we need on iRacing. We need van racing.
Van racing, definitely, yeah. Because well, of course, Ford have created a new Transit Supervan, the third Transit Supervan that's fully electric. Romain Dumas drove it at Goodwood as well. I think, yeah, the Sprinter's just over. I don't know if we'll see it quite on camera. No, it's just sort of behind the barrier there. But yeah, super narrow. Do you know what actually reminds me of another famous Australian circuit, Bathurst? It's almost got a bit of Bathurst to it. It's like a flat mountain.
I do think we have to get away from the van racing subject lest Traz Jaycott arrives and he says, "What about the trucks?"
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, fair point. They definitely wouldn't fit through here. Yeah, truck racing at Sandown. Goodness me.
I like to see people try though. We've got a minute away now before the starting grid gets formed for our second race of the evening. Alex Torres riding on board with him at the moment. It's been well, a pretty good affair so far here at Sandown. We've been experiencing this circuit here on iRacing for, I believe, potentially for the first time here on RaceSpotTV. Not sure if we've had a broadcasted race here or not since it came out. My producer in my ear might be able to tell me if we have or not. He's usually more in tune to these sorts of things than I am. So this track making its debut here on RaceSpotTV. Well, I'll withhold my rating of the circuit, Peter, until after we're done with all three races. Actually, Hugo says we had it on one of our PRL broadcasts this week, so not quite the debut, but I guess the European time zone debut. There we go. I can make myself right.
It's the World Touring Car Series debut for Sandown. So yeah, we can definitely say that. That's for sure. I do wonder if we did get racing trucks, Simicube, VRS, Fanatec, etc. They would sell a lot of replacement gearshift paddles with those 15-speed gearboxes.
Yeah, I imagine they will. But heading into the starting grid then for the second race of the evening. Preben Waller will start pole position as a result of the reverse grid with Steen Ledger on that front row as well. We've got Luke Kidsley starting in third place with fourth place going to Stefan Schlacker. Anders Ankerson will start fifth with Adam Tompkins in sixth place. We do have to speed through these, unfortunately. So Lloyd Arabia in P7, Mark Johnson P8, Daly, Newman, Martin and Butler will round out the top 12. Freitas, Rushworth, Holman, Harrison, Savidovic and Blackhall will round out the top 18 cars. Then you have your two front runners at the race one. We've got McFarlane and Guinness starting 19th and 20th. Everyone else starting exactly where they finished in race number one. Paul Smith there. RaceSpot's very own Paul Smith starting in P26. Cycling further down through the order, we've got about 10 seconds before we go green flag racing once again here at Sandown. We have Shane Piggott there down in P41 at the very back of the starting grid here today. But the engine notes are rising and off for the way once again here at Sandown. Good start from Preben Waller. Steen Ledger bogged down a little bit, and as well there's been a bit of a kerfuffle further back through the order because Stefan Schlacker's getting all sorts of contact and he gets sagged out into the barrier. Oh no, Stefan, it's all gone so wrong, and I don't think there'll be a P3 for him this time around, just like the race number one. Everyone else deeper in the pack, still 2 by 2. Some cars deciding to go off of circuit, but no major instance apart from that one we saw with Stefan.
Yeah, there was always going to be someone who was getting run out of room on that run through the first few corners, and it seems that, yeah, Stefan Tracker was that unlucky driver in that situation. Jake Blackhall making big moves as well in the number 97 car as well, with I think that's Harrison right in behind them as well as they float through the S's for the first time. Oh dear me, who's that off? Dan Martin, sorry, I knew I would say that. Dan Martin off. Oh dear.
Was that a Team Mad car? We'll have to cycle things back and see who exactly that one was that had the big impact with the barrier. So it was Dan Martin, and actually it was Sam Smith actually from the Excite team has had himself a problem as well on that opening lap. Towards the end of the lap number 1, though, on to lap number 2. Steen Ledger still leads from Luke Kidsey from Luke Rabia. A little bit of a situation going on back here. This is Johnston, Butler. We've got Daly in the front of this one. Johnston almost gets tagged fully around by Pete Newman in that situation. Johnson trying to file back in line. Newman all sorts of out of shape, but somehow is able to hold on to it. It's all about giving it a boot full of throttle here in these touring cars to try and bring that rear end back around, but it still looks impressive every time it happens.
Oh, it certainly does, and they're also going to have to sort each other out here before they get through the S's at Cooper's Corners. They dive in and they somehow get sorted out there. Kieran Harrison, he's right in the middle of that. In fact, excuse me, Quentin Guinness right there in the middle of it. Harrison a little bit further back. I wonder if he's hit problems in the early stages. No, excuse me, I was right the first time. Kieran Harrison up there in 9th position, so he's making great moves early on.
On board with the number 97 of Jake Blackwell. He's up 3 spots in this race already, and well, he's got a couple more on the cards. Let's see if he's able to try and find his way through on this little side-by-side situation going on ahead of him between Guinness and Freitas. Two relatively well, big contenders to have to deal with. He does dive down the inside of Freitas. There's a little bit of door-to-door contact, but all is fair here in these touring cars as Blackwell has to back out for the next sequence of corners. Freitas able to keep himself ahead for now. The ideal situation there for Blackwell was actually to try and follow through on Guinness' tyre tracks and allow Guinness to make all the gaps and do all the hard work in terms of trying to get through the front and get to the front, and well, just let him do all the hard work.
Yeah, it seems that the Asher Racing cars of Guinness and particularly Harrison are the ones that are making early progress right now. But that was good sportsmanship there from Blackhall, because he did have the pass done on Freitas, but he did give the position back because he did so with contact. That's really good respect and good sportsmanship as well. The only thing is it's held his teammate up a little bit, Ross McFarlane there, and now trying to get on the rear quarter panel there, and that's not good sportsmanship. Oh, it's not good sportsmanship at all. Oh, and Ross McFarlane's got to back out of it again. Oh, dear me. Oh, Lena Bay dumps Freitas.
Completely turns that one. Yeah, it looked pretty blatant to me. I think, though, Freitas, he's not necessarily innocent in this one, because there was a lot of left steering going on to try and barge doors with the car right beside him, a Jake Blackhall, so maybe potentially getting himself some of his own medicine in that situation.
Oh dear, the 69 of Carl Johnson just turned at the quarter panel there as well. It's quite easy to do in the touring cars as well, and you just see that it's that little bit of contact, quarter panel to front left and front right, excuse me, it can really make an effect there. So Blackhall barges his way through, they make contact. Oh dear, yeah, Freitas I think was just trying to gather it up there, and then Lena Bay just keeps the throttle in, and yeah, not sure what was going on there, to be honest.
I think that was sort of instant karma moment there for...
It's a bit odd, yeah.
Yeah, for Freitas.
To be very fair to Freitas, though, he was getting kind of bullied about a bit there as well, so I don't know. It's you'd need to look at it from a lot of angles, but it just shows you that it is just loud and angry and violent at every point in the field here.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, both the drivers are at fault for their incidents there, and we'll track the relevant penalty, but sometimes things have to be dealt with out on circuit, as we get to see fight a little bit further down the field. This is Craig Williams. That car is recognizable anywhere in that number 77, trying to fight it out with Neil Ferrier, who's gotten into trouble with the stewards from a few of his antics in the first race meeting at Brands Hatch. And well, we saw an incident in race 1 that he might be a bit worried about as far as the stewards are concerned. So I get the feeling he has to be on best behaviour here, and he's definitely not the only one.
Yeah, needs to not rack up those penalty points, because they do result in bigger penalties further up the season. As Alex Torres makes a look here on Paul Smith. Paul tried to tough it around the outside, and he has to run on to the tarmac. Oh, you'll have to serve a slow down penalty there, I would imagine. Yeah, he has to back out the throttle a little bit. You've got to be careful when the pack is so congested, though, not to get hit from behind when you're serving that slow down penalty. That's a tricky skill to do. Paul gets into the curb there and hops into the side of Torres. Paul now onto the grass, and did he go into pit lane there? No.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Okay.
I was going to say, you do have to be careful here that you get an unsafe pit entry, but he was the correct side of the yellow cone. And, more fighting going on ahead of him, actually. Benjamin Gregory, Miguel Freitas, we're on board with Clibbons as well. So lots of little situations going on here down in towards that first sector. Everyone pretty much able to get themselves through single file now, through turn number 4, before hitting the power once again. Through the basically non-existent turn 5, they took the American, took a rule out of the American playbook with regards to corner names here, it seems, with turn 5 just being a slight deviation to the right, and it's not a corner in any car.
It's definitely a Road America and Road Atlanta situation, that's for sure. Which, to be honest, are very good racetracks. So you've definitely taken a leaf out there because it's such a bad thing. But I tell you, the man on the move is Loic Rabier. He set the fastest lap of the race in race 1. Unfortunately ended up in an incident and didn't score the points he would have liked to, but he is really on the move, and he's taking time out of Stain Ledger at the moment. So Loic Rabier in the number 4 car is really the man on the move at the moment, and is looking like a good candidate for a win here as Morgan Butler drills into Mark Johnson.
Yeah, Mark Johnson in the 57 having a big moment there, and it's another little bit of side-by-side. Johnson, the only room he gave Butler was up onto the curb, and there was a little bit of contact between the two, but Butler trying to come back onto the circuit directly into the right rear quarter. Yeah.
They don't need much persuasion to the rear to get these cars to spin out, do they?
They're so light there as well. Oh, is that
move
Guinness?
there from Guinness? Yeah, really nice, opportunistic move there. Caught the other driver napping. That was really impressive there from Guinness. Decisive.
That's what you have to be when you're trying to work your way through the fields, and you've been quote-unquote punished by a reverse grid. Guinness certainly an expert at working his way through fields like this. They're battling behind him, though. That's Tompkins and Savidovic. So Savidovic is also trying to work his way through on this field as well. He will be clear on the way down in towards turn number 1, with thanks to a little bit of a lift out from Adam Tompkins. It's a lot of the times that's the correct decision, because you're just going to hold each other up far more in terms of time than you're able to deal with in that situation. But a little bit of a concern there. James Holman going for a big send on Adam Tompkins.
Glad he did. Yeah, the interest in the two Pure Sims cars of Blackcall and McFarlane still sort of working in unison a little bit, getting their way through there. But Blackcall he might be about to break rank here and start to make his own moves. Yes, he does. Gets the move done before they float into the S's. So McFarlane will have to get a shift on if he wants to keep on touch with his teammate. Meanwhile, a little bit further up, Kieran Harrison's had a great start to this race. So we approach half race distance. He's up to 5th place from, I think it's 17th on the grid he started. So great stuff there from Harrison.
He got decent drive out of the final corner as well, so should be threatening on the way into turn 1. Moves towards that inside. Does Kidsley give it up, or does he try to make a fight of it? Well, pretty much gives it up. Runs him close to the middle of the corner, but that is Kieran Harrison through. He's up 12 spots from where he started, and now the steps on the pole. Oh, what's going on back here? 3 wide. McFarlane's involved in it.
He was, yes, absolutely. So Ross McFarlane loses a couple more positions there as they head into turn 4 at Quirtech. So what happened there to the defending champion? This is not what he needed. He's back to 15th position. Gaines up to 8th. Harrison in 4th. Raby in 2nd. Let's see. This is our replay.
A sharp intake of breath because of this.
Oh my goodness. Another one. Lena B again.
That one was a big send from Lena B, and there was no brakes on that train, let's just say that. Lena B might have had to pull the reins a little bit more in that situation as I dropped the horseman as well.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Good to see you in the saddle, Connery. Sorry, we'll stop there. Whoa, pause. But yeah, that was very clumsy, I must say, because, you know, if you see the defending champion going in at a certain point on the brakes and you're braking 15 yards later, well, that's what's going to happen.
Indeed it is, and well, this battle involving Tompkins, Johnson, McFarlane, that's still not done either. Johnson heading his way towards the outside of turn number 1, the long way around here. Can give you the inside for the right-hand kink if you're able to hold it, but Johnson's not able to hold it, and now Ross McFarlane's been able to get alongside. It's very tricky to go wheel-to-wheel through here, and that's the reason why bits of contact being made. Johnson with the wall back onto circuit, back into the path of Ross McFarlane, but they're all able to hold it together, and now it's a big old drag race down the back straights, and Neil Ferrier has a run of speed behind these guys as well. On board with him we go. He'll give the bumper to Mark Johnson just to help him out a little bit, try and get him clear of Ross McFarlane, and then Ferrier. Oh, was that McFarlane just completely backing out of that as sort of a race conservation move?
I think he was given the place back, actually. I think again he's very respectful again. And got a tangle here. Oh, careful, guys. Who's that?
Anders Ankerson pointing in the wrong direction.
Should have had his anchors on.
Yeah, I think it might have been Alex Torres that is also involved in this. And well, Torres down the inside, eyes too big for his stomach.
Yeah, Torres, you could almost hear him going, stop, please stop. And unfortunately, Ankerson was the innocent party there, but they both carry on nonetheless. But yeah, this has been a tricky race for Ross McFarlane. Has struggled to make forward progress here. It shows you how tight and the depth of field we have here in this championship. His teammate Jake Blackwell up to 11th, Gaines is up to 8th, Harrison now up to 3rd as Raby, oh dear, I think that's Marcel Fritsch in the wall. Yes, it is. Harrison up to 3rd, Raby in 2nd, but Stain Ledger still holding on to that race lead.
Indeed he is. Let's see what happened to Marcel Fritsch. Does he get 2 tyres into the... Well, he gets 2 tyres on the curb, and he does get 2 tyres into the grass. It causes the spin out into the tyre barriers there. Pete Newman having to fight wheel-to-wheel now with Brennan Gaines as Gaines tries to squeeze his way through on this one. Newman has help in the form of one of these Pure Sim Lab teammates. That's Jamie Rushworth. What does Rushworth do with this? Well, he was semi-tempted to take it 3 wide, but instead gives the push to Quentin Gaines. And now, let's see how this battle resolves itself down in towards turn number 1. Newman sending it down and in, but he's completely overcommitted. And Gaines can work his way back through underneath. Now it's side by side between the 2 SimLab Pure Sims teammates, and Rushworth is able to capitalize on that situation.
Yeah, that was... Gaines survived there. Oh, more tangles. Puts Paul Smith and Torres in the wall on the run down towards Cooper's and the S's.
That's
what happened there?
Well before the corner, isn't it?
Well before, yes. Oh no, it's the pitch straight. Excuse me. Good call.
Oh dear, he's not going to be happy about that. Well, he's not going to be happy with himself, is he?
No, I think that I would agree with the latter. Yeah, that's not like him. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, because I initially thought that Torres moved over, and Torres did move over for a little bit, and then he straightened up his line, and then Paul came back towards the right-hand side. So, unfortunately, for our colleague here at RaceSpotTV, I would say that's predominantly our fault for that one.
Yeah, I have to agree. A pretty unnecessary one, but anyway, 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Ledger still holding on to the lead, but Raby is just 7/10 of that lead. So Interesting. You wonder maybe is Rabier waiting for later in the race, because if they start fighting now, Kieran Harrison will be on top of them in no time. Maybe just playing a strategy here.
Let's have a look, because this is battle down in AM class. Overcommitment there for Johnston, and he loses a couple of positions overall. No positions in terms of AM class, but still, it's a critical mistake there. And it puts Johnson back into the sights of Lee Berridge, which is potentially a battle for a class position.
Yep, side by side through the S's. What could possibly go wrong? They've got Ross McFarlane right behind there as well, Ferrier and Tompkins. And this is not what McFarlane wanted, seeing his rivals galloping up the road and scoring points. Well, he's a little bit further down the order, but keeping things, just minimising that risk at this stage of the championship, not having any low scores, just keep scoring, keep the clock turning. But yeah, very difficult to get through the pack here at this track.
Wojtek Savidovic and Pete Newman continuing on their battles into turn 1. Savidovic forced up and over the curb, able to gather it up quite well. Holman on the outside looking into this as well. Battle further behind, Ferrier, McFarlane, Tompkins, and a big send there by Mark Johnson to try and recover a couple of overall positions from his mistake from last lap. And well, he's got that one in the bag, and well done to hold it through the exit of turn 4 as well.
Oh yeah, hung on to that one and no more. Goodness me, good stuff there from Mark Johnston around the outside to ride on board at the front of Lee Burridge's boosted Hyundai machine. Just right up ahead is Tompkins, also in one of the Hyundais for Century Sim Racing. So McFarlane now, his sight set there on Neil Ferrier, trying to get his way through, try and score some more points. Still though, Ledger holding off Rabier with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Lap time wise, Rabier the quicker, but only by 1/10 of a second last time round. Very, very closely matched, within hundreds. So can Stain Ledger hold on? Oh, he gets a big wobble on over the curve, loses a couple of car lengths there.
It's a couple of car lengths that you would argue he can't afford to lose at the moment. Rabier, fantastic run through this race so far, setting fastest laps and such. Up 5 positions as well. Steen Ledger only gained 1 position over the course of this event, but sometimes the reverse grids really helps you out in these ones. But these cars now down in towards the final, down through the left hand, shall I say, and further onwards. But 1 minute and 30 seconds left here, so we're predicting. Let's see, we've done, we're doing 114, high 114s in terms of lap times, and we come across the line now at pretty much 116, 115. So if believing that, you would say 2 to go.
And that basically means as well that we've got the same, more or less the same race pace at the front as we saw in race 1. And race 1 is the only race we see where the drivers start in qualifying order, so stands to reason that the fastest drivers start at the front. So it's brilliant to see Ledger and Rabier putting in a really hot pace at the front of the field. Also, they've made a break early, and that's definitely helped too, I think.
It's amazing what you can do when you don't have a whole bunch of traffic ahead of you trying to fight wheel to wheel every single corner and barging each other out of the way, isn't it? So, looking further back through the fields, let's see Ross McFarlane and Ferrier once again. McFarlane, is there an opening on the inside of turn 4 here? Yeah, he does go for it, just a crack, but he's able to wiggle himself through. Let's see if he has the runner speed coming off the corner, though I don't think he does. The slight advantage does go to Ferrier. They almost make contact coming through that slight right-hander, as Mark Johnson is going to be our cameraman for this particular battle. Ferrier versus McFarlane on the brakes, potentially in towards turn number 6. You do have to just dab them a little bit coming down in towards that section and slam them on a little bit more for turn number 9, and Ross McFarlane is able to secure himself ahead, or keep himself ahead for now.
Yeah, got that move done nicely there, the Ross McFarlane. It's interesting, the Honda last season had real problems with straight line speed, not so this time out.
Does seem very, very competitive indeed, but we're heading our way out onto the pit straight then with these guys. And, well, Wojtek Savidovic, Jamie Rushworth fighting it out further down the field here. This is P8, P9 and P10, excuse me, in the overall standings. And, of course, in the pro, well, not in the pro order, indeed. But we get the final lap signal then. Steen Ledger is, well, he's heading his way through towards the little S's section before slamming on the anchors down in towards turn number 9, I believe. Looking further back, Guinness and Kidsley looking to do battle in these very late stages as well.
Yeah, on to the final lap now then. Guinness has managed to get himself up to 6th position. Good points, but looks like our winner, Conrad, Steen Ledger. What a drive.
Yeah, incredible drive, and well, with a lot of pressure from behind as well, because Arabia was closing him in towards the middle portion of the race, but it is Steen Ledger heading his way across the line to take the race win here in race 2 at Sandown. It's, of course, race 5 of the entire season. Having a look further back through the order, we do have our AM class winner of Stephen Daly, as we see Savidovic, or excuse me, Lee Perridge, having a bit of an off-track excursion coming through the final corner and losing a handful of spots before he meets the checkered flag coming across the line there. So a little bit of a chaotic end to this one. I don't think it's done either. Here comes Paul Smith trying to fight it out with Stefan Schlacker. So it's RaceSpot on RaceSpot action here. And a bit too many little bits of contact there for my liking. Stefan's actually going to flash the lights in frustration. Let's see what happens in the commentators chat after this one, shall we? But it's Paul Smith across the line, P32 overall, after that incident that he had down the pit straight. A good couple of laps ago.
Oh, I think there is going to be some chat in the digital paddock. That's for certain as well. So, yeah, pretty bruising encounter there for Paul Smith as well in the AM class.
Indeed it was. Well, we get the spinning wheel to set the starting grid for our final race of the evening. Which position is going to have the luxury of starting pole position at Sandown? Let's see. 22 has gone 17, potentially 13 as a small reverse grid here, and it will be P13. So it actually means that Ross McFarlane starts on pole position for this one. That's a huge opportunity for Ross to try and run away with a race-free win.
Yeah, there's only one result he'll be wanting there from pole position. The only thing is, though, his rivals won't be starting that far behind him.
Here's the race results then from race number 2. Steen Ledger takes the race win from Lloyd Krabia from Kieran Harrison. Then Stephen Daly is your AM class winner in P4 overall, with Morgan Butler P5, Quentin Guinness P6, Luke Kidsley P7, Jake Blackwell P8, Savidovic in P9, and Jamie Rushworth rounding out the top 10. James Holman finishes in 11th with Pete Newman in P12. Ross McFarlane in P13 will be your reverse grid pole position sitter. Neil Ferrier will miss out on that one in P14. He'll start there for the third race as well. Same with everyone else further down. Craig Williams, Mark Johnson, Miguel Freitas, Lee Berridge, Adam Tompkins, and Benjamin Gregory rounding up the top 20 cars overall. And then your top 30, Michael Blake, Rob Sutherland, Harry Fox, Konstantin Stolzenberg, Nick Clebens, Sean Gardner, Dan Blackwell, Scott Malcolm, John Roberts, and Neil Stevenson round up the top 30. Paul Smith, 31st, Stefan Schlacker, 32nd, Anders Ankerson, Shing Piggott, Perrin Wall, Leonard B, Sam Smith, Daniel Martin, Marcel Fritsch, Carl Johnson rounding up the top 40, and then Alex Torres as our retirement in P41 at the end of race 2. So we just got one more race to go this evening here in the World Touring Car Series. Our second race meeting here at Sandown, and well, you know exactly what segment we are going to do next. We got Stefan back inside of the commentary booth here. Stefan, this time it didn't exactly go to plan for you.
No, not exactly. Even from behind, I wouldn't have finished third this time around.
Just let me know what happens in that one, because we saw you have a big moment at the start of this race.
Yeah, quite honestly, it's two pros seeing first just up the road into turn 1 and thinking, that's mine. Well, it just doesn't work like that, does it? Me on the outside, not able to do anything, getting chopped off, and had suspension damage, had to recover, but yeah, still had some fun pushing in the back, I guess. And last lap, last corner, I don't know if you saw this, but me and Paul side by side, 3 wide into the last 2 corners, fighting for that position. Was quite epic to finish it off as well.
We definitely saw it between you two, and I saw a little bit of the flashy light action going on down the pit straight there. Was that in frustration, or was that misconstrued as to celebration?
No, that was just a little bit of banter, just he couldn't lose that position to me. He just couldn't do it. So he had to push it to the maximum on the right-hander, and yeah, no harm, no foul there. He just got pushed a little bit over by that curb, and that's why he touched me. So yeah, I don't do like that.
Stefan, you're so uncontroversial. I was thinking of dropping a vague message in the commentators chat about this and saying nothing else, but there we go. Maybe you're just not like me. But in terms of race 3, how's the attitude going into that one? Because you are starting a little bit further down the field than seems to be usual for you now. It seems to be it's a bit weird for me to say that, and probably a bit weird for you to hear. But starting down in P32 for race 3. So how are you going to work it out from there?
Well, there is that meme going around in Austria where way back when the Austrian football team played someone big, a reporter asked, how are we going to go into the second match? And our coach just said, well, we ain't going to win it high anymore, aren't we? And so that's my point right there. I'm just going to send it every single turn, try to win it from the back.
Okay, well, you've got Paul Sexton directly ahead of you, so maybe don't send it so much. Otherwise, we'll have a rather angry Paul Smith.
Hey, now, turn 1 is where you can gain the most. You just have to send it deep enough.
There's been some helpful moves today into there. It's very high risk, high reward, I get the feeling. But Peter, do you have anything else to finish us off here?
Oh, I don't even know where to go with this. Actually, yes, I do. I have a Porsche-related question, Steph. Have you ever been to Gmünd before?
The Gmünd? Yes, of course. I have seen the Porsche Museum.
Is it good? Is it worth a visit?
Oh, it's very worth the visit.
In Gmünd, right. I shall put it on my list. Thank you. That should be all.
Well, there we go. I've never been to Austria either. So
you're missing out. It's a lovely place. Great wine.
I'm just taking all of the recommendations I can get for the eventuality that I'll get myself down that way at some point. Not sure when it's going to be. I might not even go because Stefan's there, but there we go. Stefan, thank you very much for joining us. And it took you a while to realise that one, didn't it?
Yeah, I was looking at this Connery. Oh my goodness, Connery. That's going to get some revenge, though.
The thing is, I don't drive in this series, so I can't, I'm in...
You are in the commentator booth. I will find a way to get my Honda up there.
And in fact, I'm the one that has the power here, because we haven't mentioned it yet. I have the ability to throw a full course caution, so just remember that.
I know where your car lives.
Well, we'll just leave it at that. Good luck for the third race.
Thank you.
I'm scared, Peter.
I haven't seen said message, but I can only imagine. But I do love we've had culinary advice from Steph. We've had tourism advice. We've had what's the word? Opinion on Helmut Marko. We do get our value for money out of him. He doesn't just come in for his vanity interview. We put him to the test.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, if anyone else has any potential questions for our Ask Steph segment, then, well, we have another one at the end of race 3. So certainly get your questions in to prod the brain of everyone's favourite Austrian, apart from mine.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool Austrian. I'm trying to think if there are any other Austrians. Oh, no, well, Steph is my second favourite Austrian. Yeah, my first favourite Austrian is Richard Leitz. He's pretty cool. He's very cool, actually. Yeah, he likes his rally cars. Has quite a few classic Porsches. He's a cool dude. Porsche factory driver, Le Mans winner this year. He's quite cool.
So
But Steph is a very close second. If you're going to come second to anyone, it might as well be Richard Leeds.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how Stefan would feel to get second billing on a list like that, but we'll just have to look past that one for now as we get ourselves into our server for race number 3. So it's a 13-car reverse grid here, Peter. It's this. I believe it is the smallest reverse grid option that we have on the spinny wheel. So that's gonna make some of the top drivers maybe a little bit more comfortable with proceedings, so that they're not starting a little bit too far back through that pack.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all going to be within that top 13 by the looks of it, with Ross McFarlane just catching the reverse grid and no more. You know, if can you imagine if it not got that move done against Neil Ferrier? I mean, that would have been completely different. But these are the little kind of margin calls that play out across the whole season, and sometimes it works in your favour, sometimes it doesn't. It's I think Guinness and particularly Kieran Harrison are going to come out swinging here, because they know if McFarlane gets away, he's gone. So they know that they've got to make big moves early if they want to stop him. So let's see how that one plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And at least in terms of the, let's have a look then. So I'm just sort of we've got a very, very, very detailed points breakdown here for this series. The race administrators actually do a fantastic job with the spreadsheets and keeping track of the points here. But the thing is, they don't update them on the fly, which is what I was looking for potentially. But yeah, with Ross McFarlane, I mean, he had a poor second race at Brands Hatch, so there's not so much of a risk, at least in these early rounds, of taking a drop beat, just in case everything goes to pot, so to speak. But you can't have too many bad races in a row, or even in one race meeting. So for Ross McFarlane, this is a very, very good opportunity to at least get a solid result. Consistent top 10 finishes within a race meeting, to be able to promote him up the points order a little bit, if I get my words in the right order.
Yeah, I think if you've got to think, starting from pole with the pace that he has, defending champion, a win is all that will really be. Anything less than a win would be a disappointment from this point of view, I would say, starting from the front row. And that in theory would give him 2 podiums, a win in there, and 13th is still not disastrous either. I mean, I think Guinness got up to 8th today, and then we had Harrison in 5th. So, and of course, remember, Kieran Harrison's already missed a week. That's a hard mountain to climb at this level that they're all driving at.
Well, at least for him, he'll take it as his drop. That hasn't been factored into the calculations just yet. But and so, as I saw in the chat, Matt Bunn, one of our race administrators, saying, usually do update on the fly. So now sorting. So we'll get the updated points in just a second once he's sorted that all out. But it's been a great affair so far here at Sandown, and race number 3 looking to be more of the same here. Again, cooler track temperatures compared to race number 2. The format here in the World Touring Car Series usually is first race in the morning, sim time, second race in the afternoon, third race in more towards the late afternoon, evening side of things. So we're back into the evening. Track's going to be a little bit grippier, maybe a little bit more security for some of these drivers.
Yeah, I think so. I think that little bit of extra grip will be very much appreciated, I think, for our drivers. 21 degrees Celsius track temperature, that's absolutely perfect conditions. The tyres will love that, and as we know, in these front-wheel drive TCR machines, they've actually got a pretty good amount of power. They're not overly light, but they have a lot of power going through the front wheels. Over 350 horsepower through the front wheels, and turbocharged power at that. So it's you are putting the front tyres through huge amounts of stress. So that lower track temperature is going to be very welcome for driver and tyre alike.
These TCR cars certainly drive a lot better than iRacing's initial attempts at front-wheel drive cars. Let's just say that. Anyone who knows.
Apart from the Jetta, which is a masterpiece. I think the Jetta's a great car. It's, I love the pogo curve is just amazing. It's just so good.
It was an experience. Let's just say that, an experience, and we'll just leave it at that as well. But for these drivers, these cars a bit more well-behaved, I should say. Of course, they take a lot more. They take a lot of skill to drive in terms of the adaptation of the driving style for a front-wheel drive machine. There are certainly front-wheel drive specialists here on iRacing that work around these sorts of limitations better than some other drivers, and it's great to see a good handful of them take part here in the World Touring Car Series. I just hope, upon hope, that at some point, iRacing sees the light and brings us a Touring Car World Championship. That would be fantastic.
Oh, I think that would be absolutely superb. I think this series proved that it's a great category, and with all these different PCR machines that they've brought to the service is just superb. And what I like as well, Connery, as well, is that it would be so easy just to put the same model and the same software model and then just plant different bodies on top of them. They haven't done that. They've done it the right way. All of these cars have their own distinct character of how they drive. That's fantastic in my opinion. That's a lot of extra work for a small detail, but it matters to those who are racing.
Yeah, it's the case where doing it right is by far the hardest solution, because of course once you introduce these little differences with the cars, so the same applies to the GT cars and some such. They as soon as you add these little differences in, you're going to have to balance out those little differences. That's the whole point of balanced performance, not only in sim racing but in the real world, and it's so tough to get that right, because you can just about get it okay for a single track, but if you're setting one balanced performance for an entire season, as iRacing tends to do, that can be a bit more of a struggle. Yeah,
that's the balance of performance is always going to be a topic of discussion, both in sim and in real world as well. It always will be. I think as long as it's the good thing about sim racing is that you don't have the sandbagging issue, which is always the biggest difficulty to overcome with balanced performance. So you go into a race weekend in the outdoor world and you see teams not showing their pace, and then all of a sudden in the race huge amounts of pace appear. We see that all the time. You couldn't point your finger at one particular team that does it. It's just common. Whereas in sim racing, that's not the case. And also, there's a huge, what are we up to now? 200,000 members or something on iRacing. So you've got a huge amount of data as well. So there is definitely advantages in the virtual world for applying balance of performance.
The race organisers in the real world will be looking at the data that we have and just go, we would be desperate for that in the real world.
Oh, yeah.
So of course, they're having to deal with what they've been given in practice sessions and previous results, haven't they? So, and even then, like you said, that data can be unreliable because of some nefarious sandbagging going on. So it's, but we have it a bit better here in sim racing compared to the real world. Of course, you have a little bit more experience with, a lot more experience with the real world side of things than I do, Peter. I can speak more to that. But we've got ourselves the end of our little warm-up session here, and we can dive straight into our starting grid for our final race of the evening in the World Touring Car Series, race meeting number 2. Ross McFarlane on pole position with Pete Newman in P2, James Holman in P3 with Jamie Rushworth in P4, Wojciech Savidovic in P5 with Jake Blackwell rounding out the top 6 spots, Luke Kinsley in P7 with Quentin Guinness starting 8th, Morgan Butler starts 9th with Stephen Daly in 10th, Kieran Harrison and Luke Arabia will round out P11 and 12. Steen Ledger is P13, and that's the end of our reverse grid. So Ferrier missing out, Craig Williams missing out, and you can see the rest of the names cycling through on your screen right now. So vast majority of the field actually missing out on any reverse grid benefits here in this one. Only extends down to P13, our smallest interval as far as reverse grid pole position is concerned. But all the drivers have now gotten themselves onto the starting grid for our final event of the evening. What can Ross McFarlane do from pole position? He has a lot of pace behind the wheel of that number 1 car. We're off for the way and we're racing down towards turn number 1. It's a great start from Pete Newman on the outside of that first row. He has the outside coming down in towards turn number 1. He's not able to propel himself around the long way around, however, so McFarlane's able to squeeze himself back up in towards P number 1. A bit of front to rear contact, sort of on the edge of the top 5 into the top 10 there. there, but everyone's able to get themselves through. There's a big spin in towards the turn number 4 section, though. That is Lograbia around, and thankfully no one else collected in that one. If we had +1 car in that one, I might have been tempted to throw the safety car.
Well, that was great evasive action from the field coming through, because a car broadside of that really narrow part of the track, really, really difficult to get through, but they do. Ross McFarlane executing perfectly, getting the launch away off the line perfectly to maintain that pole position, maintain that lead into the opening stages of this race. And that's exactly what he needed to do. One of his rivals, Dan Guinness, he's already up to 7th. Great start from the Frenchman, from the championship leader, Savinovic. He's up to 5th. Harrison still in 11th as well. But yeah, Guinness really on the charge early on. And he's in that leading bunch, which is critical.
It really is. So another podium on the cards potentially here for Quentin Guinness. See his progress throughout that very long train. You can see everyone bunched together in pretty much the same train. Of course, we had the instance through turn number 4 that caused a little bit of a split and cars dropping towards the back of the order. But it seems like everyone's been able to keep each other together relatively well on the end of the first lap, and now the start of the second lap. We're getting into the sort of final 2/3 of the second lap, coming down the back straight now. Everyone clean and tidy. This is what I'd like to see more of.
Yeah, very good stuff from our drivers so far, as they all just trying to make the most of the night, try and get as many points on the board as possible. But yes, all over the curb. Mistake there. Oh dear, from one of the RD Sim Sport cars. Oh, that's Stephen Daly, our AMP-class winner in race 2, and he's in the barrier.
Easily done. We've seen it so many times coming down into that turn 9, well, braking zone, but he was in the process of losing it actually before the braking zone. We're riding on board with Lee Berridge at the moment in the number 54 car. There's a bit of a battle going on ahead of him. Further down the road, Craig Williams and Miguel Freitas, wheel to wheel. Coming into the braking zone at turn number 1, Freitas is half a car length ahead on that outside. That gets all gobbled up, though, by Craig Williams as he sends it down and in. A bit of a bullying off the road. Freitas out into the grass, and now Berridge might be able to capitalise on this one. No, he's just going to stick in behind there, as we have another car that seems to have had a bit of a problem. Was that Clibbons?
I think it might well have been Connery, yes, I think so. As we see Miguel Freitas there in the 999 up to 15th position. Third in AMP class as well. He's got Berridge trying to chase him down, but already at the front, McFarlane's starting to stretch an advantage. And this, he really has to push qualifying laps here as well, because you know that Guinness is going to do his very best to get to the front of this group. And while that's going on, McFarlane has to build enough of a gap that the race is over by the time Guinness gets through. But Guinness already is right in there amongst SimLab cars, which are arguably, those are effectively Pure Sims cars in a different livery. And of course, there's a Pure Sims car in there as well. So Guinness is definitely surrounded by, as they would say in 24, hostiles.
Yeah, don't let the liveries deceive you here.
No.
SimLab and Pure Sims, technically the same team. It's like kind of what we had in PES for a while, with Kwanda having all of their different liveries for their different teams. But yeah. Further back though, this is the train with Ledger, Ferrier, Kidsley, Johnson, and well, Ledger is winner out of race number 2, and messing up the exit of the turn 4 there. Big run of speed goes to Neil Ferrier. Big run of speed goes to Kidsley as well. Let's see if he's able to squeeze his way by on the way down towards the very, very end of this straight. He's got the overlap required. It was close though.
Very close indeed, and it's fast going into there as well. You're really trying to get the car slowed down. Oh, dumped! Oh dear, Kidsley just gets dumped into the barrier there by Blackhall, I think that was.
No, it's Ledger, I think.
Ledger, excuse me. And oh dear.
Yeah, just sort of drove through him there. Wasn't even a slight bit of brake light coming on there from Steen Ledger. Maybe a lift off, but couldn't have been any more than that, as we see more cars having problems, it seems, further down the order. drivers struggling to keep it on the grey stuff. This is Jamie Rushworth getting turned in the similar Pure Sims car. Yeah, we've seen a few of those today, haven't we?
We certainly have. I mean, I think you could maybe argue they got a bit of a bobble on going over the curb, but even then, you have to get just a little bit extra room. I would say, but nevertheless, back up at the front, Ross McFarlane opening up that gap, exactly what he needs to do. 1.2 seconds, definitely not any draft going back to the cars behind, no slipstream effect. And it's Pete Newman, Holman, Sviridovic, Guinness and Blackcall there in that leading bunch, but yeah, this is very much going to plan for McFarlane right now. And would this be his first win of the season? Or did he win? No, I think he won race 1 at Brown.
No, he got second in race 1.
Second? So this would be his first win of the season?
Yeah, it would be. So, yeah, comes at the second race meeting for us, McFarlane. If he's able to convert this one, we can't speak too soon, of course. Battle further behind, further behind Ross McFarlane. It's actually battle for P2. It's Pete Newman versus James Holman, as McFarlane continuing to extend that gap. So this is, if this goes on any longer, this infighting in amongst this train, the further the race lead is going to get away from them. It's like someone's opened the stable door and the horse has bolted.
Yeah, the horse has definitely bolted along there. Very good, Corey Merrick. I like that. Excellent stuff. Well, hopefully it won't be a steeplechase when they hit the curbs. That's for sure. That's not what we want to see. But yeah, McFarlane opening up at the moment. A thoroughbred champion there. 1.4 seconds ahead of Newman and Holman. Was that a groan?
Well, there wasn't a groan.
Like
sorry, I just thought of another one. He's a couple of furlongs ahead now, isn't he?
Oh, excellent! Very good.
There we go. Let's see how many more we can get out in 12.5 minutes that we have to run here.
We're going to get hoofed off air here.
Yeah, we'll yeah. I'll think of more in a second as we get James Holman having a little bit of a run down the pit straight here. Maybe time is on the essence for James Holman if he wants to try and get anywhere near Ross McFarlane as far as the race lead is concerned. Same with Brendan Guinness, who's a little bit deeper in this train, struggling to try and get past Wojciech Savidovic at the moment. So it's a little bit of a bottleneck going on here for P2, I get the feeling.
There is, yeah, bottleneck, cork in the bottle at the moment is Pete Newman, but that's, to be honest, that suits leader Ross McFarlane absolutely fine. It doesn't suit Quentin Guinness, who's trying his best. He needs to get to the front of this pack as quickly as possible so he can dictate the pace a little bit more as well. Kieran Harrison, now where does he factor in all this? He's in 8th position. He's just a little bit out of touch of this this group at the moment, but you have to say, oh, there goes Guinness. There goes Guinness on Wojciech Savidovic. Makes the move, puts Savidovic up onto the curb. Savidovic is not gonna like that, that's for sure. They almost touch tyres as they head into the final bus stop chicane. Oh, Guinness shows him. Oh, Blackcall gets nerfed by Harrison as well. Goodness me, Harrison's arrived with some sharp elbows tonight.
Yeah, it took the words right out of my mouth there, as they're not afraid of contact, are they? As we see Guinness and Savidovic wheel to wheel in towards turn number 1. Guinness, he knows that time is of the essence here. The more time he's stuck behind, well, these slower cars compared to him, shall we say, at least in clear air, the less of a chance he has about getting himself onto the podium in this situation. And well, he has been able to dispose of Savidovic now. He can go chasing to the cars about a second and a half down the road, Pete Newman and James Holman, who've gotten their own bit of space.
Yeah, good stuff there from Guinness to make his way through. Meanwhile, Paul Smith in a real old battle here, 9th place in the AM class, a little bit further down the order, and he's in a huge melee trying to make his way forward. Now, who is that in front of him there for Paul Smith? It's Ankerson.
And now Dan Martin getting himself involved, so the teammates working together. Dan Martin actually getting 2 positions for the price of 1, and Paul Smith's been absolutely mugged down the inside there by Leonard B, who's not afraid of, car across the circuit. Paul Smith's been able to avoid that one, not so much Leonard B though. That was a big moment there from Sam Smith, as he had a bit of contact with Alex Torres just on turn number 8 there. contact that broke the number 27's traction, and well, a big mess, and potentially a even bigger mess here on the coming on the live pictures as well.
More mess there again. Yes, exactly, Connery. The Paul Smith hopping over the curbs and into the side of Alex Torres. Torres getting around. So I do wonder if we can't. There must be a few cars now that are getting close to the incident point limit as well. We saw a few cars getting drive-through penalties last time out. These incident points, you've got to be careful. You get 1 for breaching track limits, 2 for a spin, and 4 for heavy contact with another driver. And we've certainly seen plenty that qualify for that. Let's have a look then again. So Torres gets into the side there, and then bang, bowling ball pin.
I don't know how Paul Smith's avoided that. He's got to be thanking his lucky horseshoe in that one, that he didn't come off any worse compared to, for example, Leonard B, who got the full brunt of the car spinning across the apex.
Yes, that's an onboard short. That's the view of Paul Smith, definitely. He's a lucky biscuit there.
Indeed he is. Guinness actually has been able to get past Newman. That happened quickly, didn't it? My words. Guinness is a man on a mission at the moment. He's got himself onto the podium now. 8 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. P2 is certainly a possibility. Race win, well, McFarlane's 3 seconds ahead at this point. It would be a big task to catch him, but Guinness to be able to get up into P3, potentially P2, would be a fantastic effort, as there's more fighting going on around the Paul Smith, Marcel Fritz, Shane Piggott, Dan Blackwell area, as they all seem to stack up here in these positions outside of, well, just inside of the top 30. Car off. Who's that? Sam Smith again. Well, he had a problem a couple of laps ago, spinning the car into traffic, and now he's having more problems of his own.
Yeah, and Johnny Walker in the 3M Honda there, trying to make his way through as well. So is this Clebens, who appears that Sam Smith. This is a bit odd. Maybe just ran on and then rejoined. And oh dear, quite tough to actually find a way to get back onto the circuit there. Dear me. Now, I mean, so Guinness has gone up to second already. He's made quick work of James Holman. Now, what this means is that I think you're right, Connery, that barring a McFarlane mistake, I think this is maybe a bit of a big gap, 3.5 seconds. They're so close on lap time, well within a 10th per lap. But what this would do here for Corentin Guinness, championship leader, finishing second behind McFarlane, it really just takes the air out of McFarlane's balloon. You know, you've won the race, but then your closest rival, he's right there behind you. So the points difference isn't massive. So this is a big drive here from Guinness.
And it would be yet another podium for Corentin Guinness as well. And you know, it's those consistent podium finishes and top 5 finishes that win you championships. Well, neither of these guys are going to win a championship at this rate. Savidovic and Harrison out into the gravel. Big problems there. I'll have to look back and see exactly what happened. Didn't quite catch it. Side by sides. Squeezes being made to each other. 2 into 1 doesn't go. Lucky to not have any more major contact, apart from maybe that Sim RC car in the barrier.
Yes, a little bit lucky there, that's for sure. But 6 minutes to go in this meeting here at Sandown. I actually think, Corey, it must be on balance. This is a tough venue to go to, and we've seen the curbs play havoc with these cars. But oh my goodness me, proper look at that. Savidovic and Harrison go off. But I think in general, I think the drivers have handled this relatively well.
I think so too. It's been a little bit of a calmer affair compared to what we've been used to seeing for the first couple of rounds of this season. Who's that leaning on the back bumper there of the car ahead? It was Daniel Martin, giving no personal space to that number 74 car of Scott Malcolm, as Dan Martin will have a look to drive his left-hand side down the pit straight. It's always sketchy when we get side by side down into this section, because it's such a high-speed sweeper that bits of contact can happen and bits of contact can culminate in a big old smash down at turn 9. This script's really nice.
Oh dear. Not what we like to see. Mark Johnson number 57 leading in the AM class at the moment. Just over 14 seconds back from our overall leader. Good drive from Mark, right in the wheel tracks there of Craig Williams in one of, if not the solo Audi. I think it is the solo. Yes, it is. It's the solo Audi. So the Ingolstadt brand still represented, which is nice to see.
Yeah, indeed. These guys do get themselves a car change over the course of the season if they feel that the balance of performance is not really working out in their favour. Craig Williams, like I said, lone Audi out there in a field dominated by Hyundai and a smattering of Hondas, and one of them actually leading this race at the moment.
Yeah, the Honda looking really good. Oh, dear me. Morgan Butler puts Ferrier in the wall there. Oh, huge front damage there for Ferrier. What happened there? Let's get a look at it as well. So Ferrier runs Butler out to the paint, and you mentioned...
Don't want to say too much about that one, do you?
No, not really, no.
Well,
pictures speak for themselves.
Yeah, Butler does get squeezed out into the curb, but coming back onto the circuit in such a fashion, not exactly ideal. But having a look now at Craig Williams in that lone Audi, trying to fight it out with Ferrier, who was just involved in that incident. Audi trying to keep these cars behind him as Ferrier, that's a bit of an overcommitment there to the apex, shoving the Audi out into the wall. That's not the way I believe things should be done.
No, definitely not. And you have to be careful over the course of the season as well. Like when you head into the next race meeting, it doesn't mean that the race meetings before haven't existed. The stewards do look at precedent and things like that and what's happened in the past. Ferrier really struggling with straight line speed here, it seems, after that big shunt. I'm surprised his actually car is driving as straight as it is at this stage.
Yeah, it's been, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of damage on every single panel of that Elantra as he tries to fight with the fellow Elantra on his right-hand side. That's Miguel Freitas. Freitas out over the exit curb, able to still get a decent run out of the corner. Let's see if he's able to capitalize on the run down the pit straight. Oh no, contact. Svidovic has completely miscalculated the swing out, and somehow they're able to keep going further down the pit straight. Ferrier out into the Armco barrier on driver's left-hand side. There's more carnage though as Craig Williams spins out into the runoff area of turn 1.
Oh, that all kicked off there on the straight. That's not what we like to see as Craig Williams comes back on to the track, bumping and bounding along. Just a little bit untidy these last couple of laps, it seems. Back at the front, McFarlane's opened up the gap he needs, 3.5 seconds to Corentin Guinez, who's really done a top job to get up there to second. Leader as well. Mark Johnson up to 8th overall, Gregory 10th overall, Berridge 11th overall. The AMs have really put in a good show in this third race.
They have. They've had an absolutely fantastic performance as a whole collective here in this one. It's always exciting when you see some of the AM drivers try to punch above their weight and mix it in with the pro drivers towards the very front of the fields. Johnson, the highest placed AM class driver at the moment. Let's have another look at what happens. This is what I meant by a mistiming by Svidovic. He was planning on trying to swing out to try and make it 3 wide down the driver's right-hand side. Didn't quite realise the overlap that he still had with Freitas.
Yeah, amazing that there wasn't a bigger crash there, it seems. But poor old Miguel Freitas, he really has been bumped and bars around tonight, that's for certain. But coming on to, it'd be hard to tell actually if we're going to be on the last lap or not. I think we maybe force one more with McFarlane being out, kind of time trialling out on his own out front. But great stuff from Guinez. Although, to be very fair to James Holman, he has not been dropped by the Frenchman.
Not at all. Ullman's been able to hold on quite well. Not going to be within range of a potential pass on the final lap here, although I have been wrong. Here's the start of the final lap then for Ross McFarlane, crossing the line with about 12 seconds left to go. So great pace coming out there from Ross McFarlane. Here's Stefan Schlacker trying to fight it out with Dan Martin on the way down in towards turn number 9 for the penultimate time for these guys. Stefan started P32, he's up into P20, so that's a gain of 12 spots. Dan Martin has gone a few better though, he's up 18 spots compared to where he started.
Yeah, you do wonder if Stefan Slacker and Dan Martin will be in a lot of battles together. They're, they're going to be quite close on points after this one in the AM Championship as well. And Steph trying to put big pressure on Dan Martin here as well as they come down towards turn 1. Is he close enough to make a move? We think he's going to try. Oh, gets into the back of Martin, rubs him up, and they just about get through the corner somehow. He's going to have another look as well, swings out. Anders Tace Ankerson, he's going to be sending his invoice to us. This is great camera work here from the Hyundai driver.
Fantastic stuff indeed. It's absolute brilliance to be able to watch this from such an angle, but we do have to refocus our attention back towards the very front of the field because Ross McFarlane from Pure Sims Esports picks up his first race win of the season here in the World Touring Car Series. Fantastic performance and a very clean race from Ross McFarlane as well. Jake Blackhall and Pete Newman potentially fighting it out there towards the very end. We also saw Morgan Butler seemed to have problems in the latter portion of that lap. I wonder what happened to him. Further back through the field, you have yet more fighting. That's the number 70 being, having a bit of a mistake there through the final turn. That's Dan Martin. It's a bit of a drag race between Dan Martin and Jamie Rushworth to the line. It will be Dan Martin coming out on top in that by... Oh, what's that? That's about 200ths of a second.
Very close indeed, yeah, as well. But Dan Martin a little bit aggrieved there, I think. Get a bit of a shove from behind from Stefan Slacker at the final corner. And I wonder if they'll be having a chat about that one. But this is a replay here of Steen Ledger. Whoa, getting a big help off into the kitty litter on the last lap.
Yeah, that was a big bit of contact, and was that with Morgan Butler? That's
who waits. That's very good sportsmanship.
There we go. Fantastic stuff to see from Morgan Butler, letting the car back through after an incident that was relatively obviously his fault. But let's have a look at the final race results then from race number 3 of the World Touring Car Series. Ross McFarlane takes the race win by 5 whole seconds over Quentin Guinness in P2. We've got James Holman picking up a podium finish. Fantastic for the RD Sim Sports driver. Jake Blackhall will finish in 4th place, cementing a good points day for the Pure Sims Esports driver. Pete Newman and Steen Ledger will make it a Pure Sims 4, 5 and 6. And you can count Morgan Butler in that one as a 7th as well with the development team. Mark Johnson is the AM class winner for Joy Sports in P8. We've got, and also in P9, we've got Miguel Freitas with Wojciech Savidovic rounding out the top 10. Benjamin Gregory rounds out the, finishes in P11. Not sure where I'm at today. P12 goes to Liam Berridge with Premanwal in P13. Harry Fox finishes 14th with Craig Williams in 15th. Rob Sutherland in 16th. Michael Blake in 17th. Karen Harrison, Stefan Schlacker, and Daniel Martin round up the top 20 finishing cars. Jamie Rushworth finishes P21. And then we've got a huge gaggle, a huge train of AM. Neil Stephenson, Stephen Daly, Scott Malcolm, Nick Clibbens, Carl Johnson, Paul Smith, Dan Blackwell, Sean Gardner, Shane Pigott round out the top 30 cars. Anders Ankerson in P31. John Roberts, Sam Smith, Marcel Fritsch, Luke Gidsley, Neil Ferrier, Lena B, Alex Torres, Adam Tompkins, and Konstantin Stolzenberg round out the top 40. And then 41st goes to Lloyd Arabia after 17 laps down as one of our retirements here today. So, good points haul there for Ross McFarlane. Fantastic race weekend as well for Quentin Guinness at the very top of the championship. And a couple of new names towards the very top of the order as well. We'll talk more about that and more once we get ourselves a good couple of interviews underway. And Peter, I will make sure Ross stops talking first, and we'll and Peter, you'll be standing by with Ross McFarlane, our race winner from race 3.
Indeed, I am. Ross, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a win there in race 3. As an overall meeting, how do you think it went here at Sandown?
Overall, it was okay. Yeah, it's a pretty daunting track to race at when you've got different skill levels, taking different amounts of curb, different cars. You're never quite sure where people are intending on going, so it can get a bit bunched up. But I think generally speaking, there was some really good racing out there, and it was an enjoyable evening. But I think there was a few unfortunate souls as well.
Yes, yeah, we certainly noticed a few of those. I mean, tell us about race 2, because race 2 was obviously a slightly bigger reverse grid. I mean, how tough was that to get through the field? And is that more because of the track, or has the depth of field improved into the second season, do you think?
I feel like the depth is quite good. I think, in that second race, one little mistake or getting tapped from behind and getting loosened up can really expose you to that sort of reverse grid field who, they want their own chance to race. They want their own positions, and they're welcome to race anyone. There's no stopping that. But yeah, like the depth is there. There's a few drivers now that are kind of bridging the gap between that sort of top 5, top 6 that is usually quite separated in seasons and years gone past in the touring cars. And I feel like there's quite an even spread all the way down the field from top to bottom. So it's good to see, and it makes for some really challenging racing.
It certainly does, and it's great to watch, Ross. We've certainly enjoyed it here in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Thanks so much for coming in to have a chat with us, and well done on getting the win tonight.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. That was Ross McFarlane, P1 here in race number 3. And, well, he had a P2 in race number 1 as well. So, like I said, good points haul for Ross McFarlane here today. We do have to move on, however. Take your pick of those drivers, Peter. I'm not entirely sure. I kind of want to leave the Ask Stefan until a little bit later on. Shall we get Morgan Butler in, potentially?
I think let's have a chat with Morgan Butler. Yeah, good idea.
Let's have a chat with Morgan Butler then, shall we? Morgan, how's it going? It was a P7 for you in that particular race. I know you already have a race win under your belt with the third race at Brands Hatch, but that can't have been a too shabby of a result for you.
To be honest, I've been panicked kind of all week because my pace is not there at all. I was so far off. Every session that I'd practice in, I was like, I'm in the bin here. P20 at a push, I was expecting, and that to be a good result. So to kind of have, obviously, the 3 results that I've had tonight, and then, well, so far this is shaping up to be one of the better performances I've had so far in the championship, and we're only at, round 2. So it's going quite well so far.
Well, you had 3 top 10 finishes here today, so it's a good amount of points in the account, and it actually promotes you all the way up into P3 in the championship at the end of this race meeting. So that's looking very positive for you. You've got Jake Blackhall 1 point behind you in the championship now. It seems like the front 2 are starting to pull away in the points order already. So where are your aspirations at with regards to the championship?
I've kind of said from the beginning, because with doing obviously the GT Championship run by obviously the same wonderful guys, I've always kind of had quite bad inconsistency. So I've kind of said to myself this season, I'm not worrying too much where I am points wise. I'm not worrying where I am standings wise. I just want to have good consistent finishes and just always make sure that whatever kind of happens in the race, to just finish the race. So sort of the championship position isn't really necessarily what I'm sort of looking at and focusing on this time around.
Yeah, I think that's a very good attitude to take. How was the Sandown race circuit, new track on iRacing, of course? How well did you get on with it? Because you said, previously in practice that you thought it was going to go nowhere, but obviously you made something work.
I love the track. I love the track, but my shoulders and elbows really do not with handling some of those curbs. But it was a struggle kind of in practice. Because I was trying to fully take as much curb as possible, only to maybe sort of learn through the races, following some of the faster drivers that were in the Hyundais, that kind of doing that maybe isn't necessarily maybe the way to go with the Elantra, with just the sheer size of it. So taking that little bit less curb here and there definitely it helped me to just kind of find that 10th or 2, and I'd gone from in that last race, and apologies to Steen for hitting him, but I did give him the position back. If he's listening, don't protest that. But but just obviously following Steen, usually he'd have just been gone and just left me in the dirt. But to kind of even being able to just kind of keep up keep up with him was very nice. And obviously noticing that pace around the track was good.
Next time out, we head to Donington Park. We head back to Britain. What are your thoughts?
I know it's an unpopular opinion as a British man. I don't like the British circuits. I've never got on with them. Donington's okay, but I've never got on with them. So I'm a little bit nervous. And I know that the Civic's going to be quick. But then again, the Civic's quick. I mean, look at some of the drivers driving it. So it'll just be a case of, again, worry for a whole week that I'm super slow, be really slow in practice, qualify quite well, and then get good results. That's usually how it seems to go, to be honest.
I mean, if that's the way it happens, that's the way it happens. At least as far as I'm concerned. But best of luck in your next races, and a good job today.
Thank you very much.
That was Morgan Butler here, P7 in the final race, and well, consistent top 10 finishes throughout Pierre.
Yeah, very good indeed. Good to get that insight as well of what tracks are preferred, and doesn't like Donington. I don't believe it.
I think that's heresy as far as I'm concerned. Oh. Like, I can't imagine anyone disliking that track. But before we move on to Ask Steph, we'll make a very quick have a quick chat with Preben Wally, and well, Pierre, you're standing by with him.
Preben, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. A relatively new venue here at Sandown. How did you find it tonight?
Good evening, guys. Sandown was fun. I didn't expect much coming in due to the nature of the track. It's so tight. It's very narrow. So I didn't expect much, but I thought the guys kept it together well. There was a lot of good racing throughout the field.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about what it's like there in the kind of heat of the pack, especially in these reverse grid races. How difficult is it to kind of keep yourself out of trouble?
I mean, for the first couple of corners, you're just blind. You just follow the car in front and hope that nothing happens. Then, as it sorts itself out, you can start to make some moves, and that's when the fun starts.
I see. I mean, in terms of goals for the season, Preben, what are your goals of what you want to achieve in the second season of the World Touring Car Series?
I haven't been doing a lot of racing recently, so coming in, I didn't expect much at all, to be honest. Well, I went quite well at Brands, picked up some unfortunate penalties, which meant no qualifying tonight. But then I climbed through the field twice, and I'm very happy with how it's gone so far, and I just want to build on that and have fun. That's basically it. Just have fun and have good races.
Well, we certainly wish you all the fun for the rest of the season. Preben, thanks so much for coming to chat to us, and good luck for the next round.
Cheers, Peter.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much, Preben, for that one. And we finally get ourselves Racely chat with Stefan Schlacker. Stefan, in that one, it went okay for you. P32 is your starting place. P19 overall is your finishing position. Just take me through that one.
Yeah, quite honestly, I didn't expect it like that. I think in the end, I even gained that 5th place in the last corner against Dan Martin there for the M-Class. So it really was a great race. Just, kept it cool, kept it smart. I dropped it off the grass at one point, sadly. Otherwise, I might even have had a shot at some higher position. But no, yeah, it went really all right until I had a little bit of a run with the RD Sim Sport, I think they're called, guys. But that's most definitely going to be on the stewards table, as it looks like from both sides. But yeah, it was a fun race, and I did enjoy that, I have to say.
With the rates of attrition and the amount of contacts that we've had throughout the races that we've had, not just here but in Brands Hatch, how big of a factor do you think penalties will be once we get deeper into the season as people rack up penalty points?
Quite honestly, I think they're going to be a massive part of the championship, at least for the foreseeable future, because just some people, they tend to ignore the good driving standards at times when there are positions to gain, especially in the early start. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it will play a part in this. We have seen quite some suspicious driving, let's call it like that, over the first 6 races. So we're gonna see. I mean, the stewards do a great job. They are right on spot with their penalties, at least for the first 3 races. So I hope it calms down, but I think with how many penalties we have already seen, they are gonna continue to carry a heavy weight, especially for those guys that had maybe already a very bad first round. Because don't forget, I think it was only 1 round drop we get in WTCS.
Yep. I believe that is correct. Just double checking the rulebook, but yeah. So one bad race meeting is all you get. If you have another one, well, you're out of luck as far as the points in the championship are concerned. But it's been very nice speaking to you so many times here, Stefan. And Peter, I will give you one last opportunity to ask the Ask Steph question.
Whoa. When are you going to get your first class win, Steph?
Well, I was hoping in race 2 today, but that hope went quite heavily into the wall on the right side of a left-hand turn. So, hey, maybe round 3. We don't know. I mean, the wheel of misfortune, as I call it, has been quite good with me thus far, putting me into nice positions, but just couldn't capitalize as of right now.
Well, may the force of the wheel be with you, Steph.
I hope so too.
Well, there we go. Stefan Schlacker, sort of our resident interviewee, I suppose, here in this one, as we'll wish him the best of luck in his future races. But Peter, again, we had 3, I would say, decent races here at Sandown. It seemed like some of the drivers are starting to get into their stride now in this series. Of course, we had at Brands Hatch sort of maybe potentially first event nerves kick in, the anxiety of starting off a season. But I think the deeper we get into this season, the better things we'll get, that's for sure. We've had no shortage of close racing.
Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely a good depth in field, that's for sure. And one driver who's just picked up where he left off, and with even more of a complete package, is Corentin Guinness. He is going to take some beating this season, it seems.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. He's definitely on a roll as far as the high points paying positions are concerned. We head to Donington Park next week, however. We're back in the UK for race meeting number 3 of the World Touring Car Series. We will have to end it here, but you do not want to miss proceedings next week as we head to Donington Park for our 3rd race meeting. That's going to be an absolutely crazy event. But from me, I'm Connery Maddock. I'm joined by the ever wonderful Peter Mackay. We'll see you same time, same place next week.